CS 101.1 FM. Good morning to you, 747-13 away from 8 o'clock. And Bob Pollock is with us. If you'd like to give a call to Bob, the phone number is 479-1160 or 349-WCCS. That's 349-9227. And you can ask him your questions about lawns and gardens and plants and all kinds of things. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you with us. Jack noted earlier the passing of Ward Stover served the county for many, many years.
Yes.
In the position
yes, he did.
In which you currently serve.
That's well, yes. Kind of, I guess. Not exactly.
Yeah, well, the position
with
has
all the
changed.
changes, the position has changed. But
he meant a lot to a lot of people.
He did.
And we certainly do appreciate all his years of service. And here on this radio station sort of started a tradition that continues with you. And he was with us every Friday morning, and you're with us every Friday morning. So
that's true.
Back
in the days, and he trained me how to tape those programs.
Yeah, I remember you used to put them all on cassette and bring them
cassettes. And then we still have a little machine that you plug into the wall that vibrates and would remove, clean the tapes.
You've got the bulk cleaner?
I forget what the actual name of it is, but
it's a bulk eraser.
Yeah, it would just demagnetize,
You still have your bulk eraser over there?
It's still over there. Maybe we should start a museum in here, and we can.
There you go. Ours burnt up years and years ago.
Oh, goodness.
Of course, we don't need them anymore.
Don't need it anymore.
Yeah. They'd still
we
serve
would
a purpose.
recycle those cassette tapes and tape a new segment for 3.5 to 4 minutes. And
Oh, yeah. Remember those days.
Walk them over.
Here's what folks are talking about right now. I've got my plants indoors. I've had them indoors now for a month or so. And maybe they're not looking so good right now. I know that, and we talked about this a few weeks ago. Humidity and light are the two biggest factors, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, humidity in the air, just having that humidity around the plant itself affects how much moisture is lost from the plant. So when the humidity is a little higher, then there's going to be less evaporation occurring, transpiration through the plant, which is going to be usually beneficial to the plant to conserve that moisture and reduces the amount, how often we need to actually put water on the soil. Now that can be reabsorbed by the roots.
When we have these tropical plants here that we put outdoors in the warm weather and bring indoors in the cooler weather, if they were in their native environment, would they go into a dormant season like other plants do? And should we be noticing that within our homes right now?
They're very capable. Once they're in their temperature range, they'll continue to. They may not grow as fast, and they probably won't, but they are very capable of just continuing to function. So usually, what limits that is again the temperature, and then the day length too. So a lot of plants they're really not dormant, but their growth is greatly slowed because we have these other conditions that aren't as favorable for growing the plant. So if we would take a group of plants and put them in the house, take that same group of plants and put them in optimal conditions where they get all the light they need and everything, you would see differences for sure.
Yeah.
The one group of plants that are getting the optimal conditions are going to continue to grow, and then the other plants may not put any new growth on at all. They may start to get some yellow leaves or browning leaves or brown tips or edges,
but we shouldn't
or just
panic
kind of sit
about
there.
that.
But we shouldn't panic about that.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
We just want to try and provide the best conditions we can, even though they may not be perfect and probably aren't, but they can be good enough that those plants are going to survive and do fine, but they're not going to change a lot.
When you have those long-leaved tropical plants that look like corn husks in a way, or corn stalks, and the ends of them go brown, should we cut those back to the end of the brown stuff and just to the healthy stuff, or should we just allow it to do what it's going to do?
Well, usually you don't want to be looking at all that brown stuff all the time. So anything that's dead can be removed. And usually you can take that. You don't need to necessarily cut it off with scissors, but
crumble it with your finger.
Yeah, just crumble it off because it's dried and dyed, and the tissue will break off there pretty easily. That you can at least touch it up, and if the normal color's green, then you'll be back to that for the most part and get rid of all that brown on the ends.
But we're not going to stop the advance of decay by taking that off.
No.
We're not going to speed it up by taking it off either.
No.
Okay. All right. So don't.
And it's a good time now to, since you've maybe had them in for a month, or maybe in some cases longer, just when you water them, when you check them, and hopefully that's weekly at least, depending on the plant. Most of them are pretty easy to care for, but just that regular checking, because if they've been outside, you could have brought some pests in with you that are on them that really weren't noticeable outside, but now that they're inside, maybe the leaves look a little shiny, and so you take a look at that and find out, well, maybe there were some aphids or some mites, or a couple of the scales. There's a couple of cottony. They look cottony in color. They're white. So there's mealybugs and a couple types of scale that can get on house plants that can happen outside, and then you bring them in, and then because the conditions are right, they continue to function, and a lot of them are sucking insects, so they remove the sap from the leaves.
Okay.
And then as they process that sugary substance to get food for themselves, they pass out what they don't use on the other end. And a lot of times that's still some sugary material in there. And then when that dries, it'll look kind of glossy on the leaves. And then from there you can get a sooty mold growing on there too, that grows on that sugary material that's left.
Yeah.
So, but those scales, those white cottony scales, you can see those. Those are visible. A lot of times they'll be down at the crotch of the branches, where one branch attaches to another. A lot of times they'll be concentrated there. Sometimes they'll be on the undersides of the leaves. So just inspecting the plants and looking at them, and a lot of insects will function on the underside of the leaf, because they do have some protection there from both sun and as well as predators. But they can flip them over, look at them, check them, make sure everything's okay.
Okay. Bob Pollock with us this morning. We have a couple of moments left with him in this segment. So events coming up, things we need to know about at this point of the year?
There's we're starting to get into the winter meeting season. Things are getting set up for the concentration of meetings and workshops and things that will be held through January through March.
Like farmers' chemical meetings and things of that nature?
Yes, yeah. Folks that have pesticide applicator licenses, they need credits to maintain those licenses, so we do a number of meetings around the state that are meant to provide updates on safety as well as specific use of materials on crops, based on the label and how you're supposed to use those particular materials. And then those talks qualify for credits for them to maintain their license. So there's things like that. We've got food safety. We mentioned that last week. The Food Safety Modernization Act will require some producers to be certified, go to an all-day long class. They'll get a certificate for attending that. These are happening nationwide. And so those are going, we have a series of those going on this winter. We have a greenhouse high tunnel workshop coming up in December, 13th and 14th. That'll be up in the Mercer County area. So we have that. And there are numerous other things that'll be coming up. And and people that have access to a computer can get on extension.psu.edu. And there's menus there of all the programs are posted there. So you can sign up online. But major transition to moving to that type of a system versus our old system where we used to make up a brochure and send that out to a mailing list, and everything was done with checks in the mail. And,
doesn't work that way anymore.
It doesn't work that way anymore.
Uh-huh.
Have to transition and make the change.
Keep up with the times.
Keep up with the times.
All right, sir. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Folks want to get in touch with Bob at the office. It's 465-3880.
Yes.
And, of course, you can always call him here on Friday mornings at 7:45. It is Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank here on WCCS, AM 1160 and FM 101.1.